Welcome to this podcast from Stratfor, leader in global intelligence.
NATO Secretary-General seeks to bolster what opinion polls suggest is waning support in Britain for the war in Afghanistan. Joop de Hoop Schäfer saying that walking away from the conflict now would have a devastating effect, giving free rein to Al-Qaeda. The British have been one of America's strongest allies in Afghanistan, but disproportionately heavy losses this month and criticism of outmoded military equipment have led to public debate about continuing. Welcome to Stratfor, I'm Colin Chapman. NATO's Secretary-General felt compelled to issue the warning after a meeting yesterday with Gordon Brown, Britain's Prime Minister. Giving up would allow Afghanistan to fall to the Taliban, with devastating consequences for the people, particularly women. Pakistan would suffer terribly, with all that this would imply for international security. Central Asia would see extremism spread, and NATO members, he said, had to realise that the mission was essential to their own security. The problem for Brown is that opinion polls show many Britons are not convinced, and those that have doubts point to the failure of Brown and US President Barack Obama to persuade many other European leaders to send combat troops to fight the Taliban. Another criticism within Britain is that its forces in Helmand province are fighting with one arm tied behind their backs, in the sense that they have inadequate equipment. There is particular concern about armoured personnel carriers, which are seen as significantly poorer than American designs and vulnerable to wayside bombs. Sir Richard Dannett, an Army General, has openly criticised the Brown government on the BBC for prosecuting the war on a shoestring and demanded more helicopters and more boots on the ground in the form of 2,000 extra troops. The General, it should be said, retires next month. While the debate goes on, with a heavy focus on the history of unwinnable wars in Afghanistan, Stratfor reports today on another disquieting aspect of the campaign, and that is the frequency with which planes and helicopters seem to be falling out of the sky. Yesterday, a British RAF Tornado crashed upon takeoff in Kandahar. The crew ejected themselves and survived. Just one day earlier, on the same airfield, a Russian-owned civilian Mi-8 helicopter crashed, killing 16 people on board. These crashes follow a string of deadly aircraft downings elsewhere around Afghanistan in recent days, and you can read the full list on our website at www.stratfor.com. Only one of the crashes involved enemy fire, and that was a large helicopter carrying humanitarian aid. Most of the crashes involved air operations under contract. Of course, Afghanistan's rugged terrain and the stresses of war make flying, particularly of helicopters, a hazardous business. But at the same time, questions are now being legitimately asked, similar to those raised by General Dannett. Is the loss of hardware symptomatic of the need for better equipment in the field? Our analysis, Aviation Crashes in Afghanistan, can now be downloaded from our website at www.stratfor.com. I'm Colin Chapman. I'm taking a few days vacation now, so Marla Dial will be in this slot for the next week. Please join her tomorrow.